Func, Action and Predicate. One of the frequent asked question in any interviews if you're going for a .NET or C# interview. So let's try to understand what this is, and before you understand this you need to understand delegate. So what delegate is? Delegate is similar to leadership. So if you are a leader of your team, let's imagine you are a technical team lead where you directly communicating with a project manager, and you make a commitment that you are going to deliver this much of amount of work by end of this day or end of a week. And for that, for sure, you need a team where you can go ahead and assign the work to the team. You by yourself cannot keep everything in your plate. You should not start writing code and by yourself make the development and then testing and deploy in the environments and all. So what you will do, instead of doing everything by yourself, you will just keep an eye and you will deliver or delegate all those work to different team members, and that is how you will able to deliver the good work. And that is something delegate is. I hope that we are able to understand the delegate, right? Okay, so now let's try to dig into the code and let's try to understand all these concepts practically. Okay, so let's start the fun time now. So let's focus on func first. Okay, so let me declare one func. I would say you can use the func keyword, right? So you need to remember, you need to keep typing whatever like this and like all those parameters, but you need to keep remember whatever you type, this would be your input parameter. You will keep typing the input parameter, you will keep typing the input parameter. Once you end, that would be your output, that would be your return. Now if I hand over this last string, the last would be your return type. Keep in mind, the last would be return type, right? This is how it works, this is how it behaves, func. So in the func delegate, other than last parameter, everything would be your input parameter, last would be your return type, right? So let's avoid confusion and say create one func which will be responsible to calculate the person age, right? So what I will do, I will say one string first name. I'm not saying that, but I will create one method. So let's say string one date time and then one integer, that would be return time, right? And let's name my func something, say func age, right? Okay, so I'm declaring that. Okay, so now you see, if you look mouse over here, it will say all those parameters, and see encapsulated method that is 3 parameters and returns the value of the type specified by the int parameters, right? So 3 parameters and specified by one integer output parameter, right? Okay, so now if similar thing you have to do with the function or method, what will you do? You will create one method, right, which will accept 3 parameters and which will return one output, which will return one integer type, right? Okay, so let's create public return type integer, which is this, right? And I need 3 different input parameters. Okay, so let's say public int get age, and I would say this and then this. So what I will say first name, I would say last name, and then my date of birth, right? That person date of birth. And let's perform some logic. Let's say if there is some value, right, in first name only, then I wanted to perform some logic. And what I will do, I will say return my age. Let's say TOB, whatever the date of birth, add more years in that. So let's add 18 more years in the date of birth. And that would be okay. So it won't accept because the return type is integer. You have to say years, right? And at the end, if there is nothing, say 0. There is no age. Perfect. So this is what similar to. So if you see string and date time, 3 input parameters, string and date time, 3 input parameters, integer, 1 output parameter, 1 output parameter, right? Okay, so now can it do by itself? No, delegates don't have their own implementation, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and try to call our delegate, and let's see what happened, what magic happened. Okay, so let's go to program class. Let's create one test method, say public. I would say void, I don't need anything here, and I would say test, or let's say call delegates. Perfect. Okay, so I wanted to make a call to get age, but I wanted to pass this whole implementation over here. Can I do that? Can you do something like this, get age, maybe like this? Let's see what happened. Get age, this is one function, and let's say I'm passing different things. One string parameter, second string parameter, and then one date of birth, date time. So let's see what happened. It won't even accept, right? Okay, so you can't do that. That is the need of delegate, right? There was a need when you have to pass the whole method, you have to use delegates, and in C#.NET you have a different delegates called action, func, and predicate, right? So I hope you understand the need now. Okay, so what you have to do, if you have to pass this whole implementation, you have to create func, right? So let's say it needs this func, right? And I would say this is my func. Perfect. Okay, and let's say what you have to do, the syntax is func.invoke. So invoke is like call, right? The meaning of invoke is call, and it will accept 3 parameters, right? String, and date time, and one output parameter. So this is what error is saying. So let's give Parveen, the last name would be Kumar, and date of birth would be whatever the date time is. So let's say date time now. Perfect. Okay, and since this func is has output integer, so it will return something. So let's say var response. Perfect. Okay, and let's put a breakpoint so we can debug, and let's see what happened. Okay, so for sure I need to call this, right? And I can say call delegate. Perfect, and it needs a delegate. Now it says that it needs a delegate. What do you need to do? What we can say is we can this one, we can access this class, and let's make it static so we don't need to create an object, and for sure we need to say public, otherwise there would be issue for inaccessible, right? So what we have to do, we have to say this is my delegate, this is my function. Now it should be happy. Okay, let's see what it says. It says non-static field. Okay, so no issue, I can make you happy. So see, this is happy now. Okay, so what happened here, we are calling a delegate, and we are passing the whole method name, whole function name, right? And this is the function name. This is how you can pass when you are passing this func input parameter, right? Now let's see what happened. See the magic, something will break. Okay, let's see what will break. Let's put a breakpoint, debug this, right? Okay, so now we are here, and let's throw the error. So there is some error. It says object reference. So what mistake we have done? So if you look at this, func is still null, though you are passing that this is my func age is my function delegate, still it is saying it is null. Why? Let me show you what mistake we have done. So we have just declared it, but it do not have any implementation. Right now it is null. So you have to assign something, and what you will assign? You will assign this thing that we have created, get age, right? And now let's see what it says. It says a field cannot be non-static, so you need to so this is important thing. So when you are working with delegates, you have to make sure when you are initializing that the right hand side should be static, otherwise it will throw the exception. So let's make it static. Perfect, now it is happy. So we have assigned. So why it agrees on get age, why not any other method? So if you add something, let's say again integer, another thing, it will throw the exception, right? So it needs only a method which have 3 parameters, which is string, date time, and one output parameter, one return type, which is integer, and this method fulfill that needs, right? So that is why it is okay with this method. So if you need some other method, you have to create similar input type and input parameters and similar return type, so then it will be happy. Okay, let's move ahead. So now let's see what happened. Will it work this time? Let's see. So let's see, func is null or no. No, this is happy now. Now if you see, it is okay. Now it says I have this method. It knows which method it has to call, right? So we are passing func age, but it is saying you have to call get age. Why? Because we have assigned here get age, right? So let's put a breakpoint here, and let's see what happened. So it went to get age, and all, after all the logic is performed, you will receive the output, like whatever the age is. So don't go over this value, we have just played with some dummy data. Perfect. Okay, so this is what func is. Now one interesting thing that I wanted to show you for the func is that is something, it has some limitation on the input parameter. You can only pass 16 parameters. If you will go on 70th, it will start giving exception. You want me to try? Let's try. So let's say 1, 2, 3, and let's say just keep counting 4. Okay, let me copy this actually otherwise it will waste a lot of time. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. See, is there any complaint? No complaint. Just forgot about this for now. Okay, why? Because the input parameters are not same. So till 16 parameter input parameter and 1 return type, it is happy. Now let's see what will happen if I add 70th, right? So see, it start throwing exception, and if you look at the error message, it will say same thing, right? So it says using the generic type func requires 1 type argument. That is fine, but I think it is not giving that error. But oh, sorry, yeah, here. So this is something I messed up. Okay, now you see the error. Visual Studio says that it has 16 parameters and return a value of the type specified in the out. So it is only limited to 16 parameters, input parameters. And same with others as well, means action where we are going right now. Okay, so let's undo everything and back to our topic. So this was interesting, right? Fun part. Okay, great. Now let's go to action. So what I would say, I will create one action here, and instead of func I would say action. So this is the only syntax that you need to change, but there is a difference. Now in func, the last parameter was a return type. In action, there is no return type. It is like void. It is like void. So now this method won't be supported. So what you have to do, you have to create another method which will return void type, right? And you don't need to worry about this return and all. Right, okay, so let's say where each, because there is a year, integer, and it needs some assignment. Okay, so get age, let's say for action. Perfect. Okay, so now this method is ready for action because it is void, and similar here. Now it says okay, we don't need integer here as well because we don't have any return type. Right, so when you need a delegate which needs to return something, you can go for func. When you need a delegate which do not have any return type, which you are not expecting anything back, at that time you should use action. In my experience, I have seen people, they always use func whether they need action or not. So what they do instead, if they don't want to return something, they say here task, right, some kind of that thing, because then they can return nothing from that task. Just say that task.execute, right? But that is wrong. Don't do that. So just understand first, if you need to return something, use func, and if you don't need to return something, use action delegate. Perfect. Okay, let's go ahead then. So let's name it something. That was func age, I would say action age, right? And I would say this method. Now see, this will not work because it says wrong return type, right? So you have to say get age action. Now it should be happy. Yes, it is happy. Okay, let's go ahead. Let me do some formatting for best practices. Okay, so now this was called delegate. Now what I will do, I will call action here actually, right, instead of func. So what I can do, or maybe let's create another delegate. So let's keep it called delegate func. Let's rename it func and name it whatever it was being used. Now let's copy paste and let's say action, so we can keep the older implementation as well, right? And here for again it will be action, right? And you can say action, and we don't need any return type, right? So I have string and date time. You can say action dot invoke. Now since it is void, you don't need any assignment. Perfect. Okay, so let's create action now, call action now. So I hope this is the right name, right? And let's comment. I don't need to look at that other implementation now. Okay, so let's call action age. Perfect. So this is our action age, right? So if you execute, so it won't return anything, but you can still see. Okay, so we need to go one step back. Actually, let's redebug. Okay, so you see it went to get age action implementation, right? Perfect. So now we understand the action and we understand the difference between func and action. Great. And again, it has same limitation. It will accept only 16 input parameters. Over func we seen 17 because the last one was output parameter, but over here since we don't have any output parameters, so only 16 input parameters. But it was here 16 input parameters and 1 output parameters. Okay, cool. So now we understand func action. Now there is a time for predicate. So what is predicate? So it is again a delegate, but it is mostly used for return boolean things. Not mostly, it actually returns boolean. So if let's create a predicate, let's see, and it accepts only one input parameter. Remember that it accepts only one input parameter, right? Not like func and action, it was accepting so many, but it returns only one input parameters and always return boolean. So you don't need to mention what should be the return type. So let's say integer, and I would name here I would say is even number, right? And yep. So you have to use predicate when you know that you always need a boolean type return type, right? For maybe you need to check if the condition that you are passing is valid or not, the age is more than 18 or not, the gender is male or not. So for those things, check, you can use predicate delegate, right? So let's create one method now here. Over here, I would say public static, and for sure it is boolean, right? So I need to create a return type boolean and say is even number, right? And it will accept what? One parameter integer and say like value, right? And okay, so the number is same, so let's say is even predicate, right? Okay, so what I will do, if value modulus by 2, right, then I will say return true, right? So I know this is divisible. return true or return false. So that will check if the number is even or not, right? And what you can do, similar thing what you were doing before for func and action, attach that method to your delegate. Perfect. Now let's test this. So what I will do, similar here, I will create one more method and I will say predicate. So predicate, and here again use the same keyword predicate, and it would be a return type. Perfect. And let's say predicate. Okay, and what will you do? Predicate dot invoke again, and it needs one value. So let's say 10, and since it has some return, we can check the response as well. Let's see the response if it is even number or not. Let's put some breakpoint and call this thing. So comment the other one because we are already good with that, and call the third delegate that we have created, that is even number. I don't see that. Let's see why, because it is not public, right? So now it should be good. So let's pass the name of our delegate. So now can you see that? I still don't see that. Means we are still missing something. Oh yes, the static one, because otherwise you have to create an object. Now let's see what happened. So here you go, right? And what it says, let's see what it says. It says that date time void is complete. Oh, we have used the wrong method, that is the reason. It is happy. Perfect. Now let's test it. So let's see the response. True, because we have passed 10, it is true. Let's say 9, and let's see what happened. It should be false. The expectation is false. So false. Perfect. Okay, cool. I hope you enjoyed this learning, and I hope you are clear on delegates, on predicate, on func and action. Okay man, so that's all for this video. I will see you in the next video.